In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser, and this week Joe is somewhere in London and I am interviewing a special guest who is Lucy Cohen from Mazuma Money. Hi Lucy.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming
You're
on the show.
very welcome.
And also I'm breaking with tradition because I am not in my house, in my office. I am in, where the hell am I? Bridgend.
Bridgend, yeah, in South Wales.
Yeah, I'm in Bridgend in South Wales. I thought I would get out of the office.
It's the very glamorous Bridgend industrial estate. It's something else.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so Lucy, tell us, traditional start off for interview. Tell us a bit about what your business is.
Sure. So I run a company called Mazuma, and we're the UK's first remote accountancy service. So we started nearly 12 years ago now.
Okay.
And we kind of took the idea of a traditional accountancy firm and very much smashed it up with a hammer and said that doesn't work anymore. We're going to do something completely different. And what we do is there's no face-to-face meetings. It's all online or via the post. Think kind of like the old school sort of love film for accounts, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So people send us their stuff in an envelope or on the app every month. We do their monthly bookkeeping. Tied into it in the subscription is all your year-end accounts, tax, all that kind of stuff. And we charge them on a subscription basis.
Okay, well that sounds nice and simple.
Easy peasy, yeah. It's supposed to be, yeah.
Cool. Unlike most accountancy, I should say here that I have an accountant who does things very differently as well.
Yes,
so
yeah,
I'm not unfamiliar with that, but it's really refreshing to see somebody who's kind of smashed it up with hammers, as you said. And, so why did you decide to do it like that? What made you want to smash things up?
Well, it kind of inspired by my family, really. I come from a family of creatives, so they're all dancers, musicians, actors, that kind of thing. And they're all great at what they do, but terrible at actually organising their finances. So it was kind of seeing that annual struggle they were going through kind of made me think, well, there has to be a better way of doing this. And I didn't like the idea that people didn't know what tax bill they had at the end of the year, that it was always this kind of, to be honest, it kind of affected me personally because my birth is in January and I always got told they didn't know what I could have as a birthday present because they didn't know what their tax bill was. So, and it's very sad. So from a purely selfish point of view, I was like, no more children shall suffer like this. We will sort this out. So now we have a service where we give predicted tax bills and projections throughout the year so that people don't have any surprises.
Okay, I love that kind of mission statement. It's like, no more children shall suffer like me.
No more children will suffer not knowing their parents' tax bill. That's I've not used it on my art advertising, but maybe I should.
I think that would be. I think that would be really cool. Give it a go. See what happens. I love that. Okay, so you said you've been running it for 12 years.
Yeah, nearly 12 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. Do you mind me asking how old you are? Because you're very young.
I'm 34.
You're 34.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were 22.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, 23.
23.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that work? How did you get started? Did you work for another accountant before?
So what happened was I didn't go to university, so I went straight into my accountancy training from school. So I took a year out, 18 months out, and I worked in the film and TV industry, which is what I always thought I wanted to do. And turned out I hated it. It was terrible. I spent my whole time standing in wet fields and just feeling quite miserable. So I did not enjoy it. It was not glamorous. It was not fun. So I kind of went to see a careers advisor and was looking at kind of what could I do. And I've got an aptitude for kind of logic and learning rules and stuff like that. So she could say to me, look, you could go on this route. I looked for an apprenticeship, did my exams whilst I was working. And then when I completed my exams, kind of always knew that I probably wanted to do something on my own or do something, not just work for somebody else constantly. And this kind of idea popped up and I was young enough and stupid enough to go for it.
Well, that was really cool. I wish I could rewind the clock a little bit and start kind of that young because I'm quite late to the whole running my own business.
Yeah, I look back now, I just think, wow, I think... Yeah, obviously the benefit of youth is you've got all that confidence and you've got all that, you don't know enough about the world to be cynical and jaded by it. So I think it was probably a good time to do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's awesome. So when did you realise that you had to do things differently?
I think straight away. I think that the entire premise of the company is very much based on doing something differently. So we've taken an old school industry and kind of flipped on its head and done something new with it, essentially reinvented the wheel. And nowadays we very much compare ourselves to other companies who've done something similar. So if you look at Spotify, there's nothing new about buying singles music. There is a new thing about subscribing to it. Look at Uber, there's absolutely nothing new about getting a taxi, but the way they do it in that super user-friendly kind of way makes it a kind of really old school industry kind of new and relevant. And I think that's what we've done. And we just always started out like that. We always wanted to have a brand rather than it being about the individuals in the brand. So having a brand ethos, having a brand culture. And we had that right from day one. That's always what we wanted.
Okay, and it seems to have worked for you. You've got a lot of staff.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a lot of them like milling around. Yeah, it's gone well. I think we've got 26 at the moment.
Gosh.
But we've got offices over in the States as well. So in 2011, we set up as a joint venture in Missouri, USA. And that's, I think they've got about 10 people over there as well now. So that's kind of growing as well.
That's really exciting. So how did that happen? How did you decide to go abroad?
That was one of those kind of complete fluke things. So a blogger wrote about us. He writes about software as a service and kind of techie accountancy bloggery type things, but he's quite well known. And he'd written an article about us, and we were quite unusual in that he seems to hate everybody but really liked us. So he rang up and said, look, I really like what you're doing. I think it's cool. I think it's different. Can I interview you? So I gave an interview on his program, and they heard that. These guys from the States heard it, got in contact with us and said, look, what do you think about maybe doing a franchise or a joint venture or something? And we dabbled in franchising in the UK, but it wasn't for us really. It kind of, we realised we could do it in a much more profitable way from a kind of central hub like we've got now. So it was one of those things we get quite a lot of, or certainly in the past, we get quite a lot of contact from oddballs kind of going, let's set up one here, or what do you think about doing this? And usually they're rubbish, but these guys, you know, when someone just, you kind of get a sense of them and you're like, oh, actually, this is a little bit different. So we got chatting, they came over here and kind of shadowed us. We went over there and looked at what their setup might be and set it up as a joint venture in 2011, and they're turning over, I think this year they're doing well over $1 million. So that's nice. Pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's really exciting. I'm very excited sitting here talking to you and hearing somebody just like going and getting stuff and doing something different.
Oh, that's what it's there for, isn't it? It's out there to grab it. You've got to go and get it.
Yeah. So what do you think about, how do most accountants run businesses? And I'm kind of asking that as a bit of a loaded question because I know that my accountant gets very frustrated with the accounting industry.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I think that typically the type of personality who goes into accounting isn't someone who embraces change, and it isn't somebody who necessarily comes from a creative background. So they may not be, they're doers and they're logical and they're very good at what they do and they're technicians, but they may not be kind of business leaders. And I think that's the problem. You get problems in business when you have someone who's very technically proficient, then going to go and run a business. They're two entirely different skill sets. And that's where the frustration lies, in that an industry is not going to push forward unless you've got both those people working in harmony. Myself and my business partner, Sophie, we work really well in harmony together because she's more kind of the techie proficient reporting, keeping me accountable side, and I'm much more on the kind of ideas pushing forward development side, and that works really nice. We really balance each other out in that respect. And I think you need that. I think it's no man's an island, is it? Or woman's an island. You need to have people around you who kind of push you to the next thing. And I think a lot of the time, loads of accountants just work on their own all the time, and they're just got their heads in books doing numbers, and they're not open to change because it's a really old industry and things have been the same way for a long time. So it's, you could have been doing your job for nearly 40 years and never really seen a huge legislative change the way we have in the last 10 years. And it's hard to keep up then. It's really hard.
It is. It's also kind of a dusty old man industry, isn't it?
It definitely has that. It definitely has that stereotype. It is changing slowly. I like to think we're kind of at the forefront of changing that. I know some other kind of quite cool, innovative accountants out there, but it still does have that stereotype. If you were to Google image search accountant, you'd definitely get an old guy with glasses at a typewriter or something. That's definitely what you get. Yeah,
because when I arrived, I was just like, you look super cool. I love your shoes, by the way.
Thanks.
Okay, this is not good radio, but Lucy's got these amazing kind of platformy lace-up shoes with silver studs all over them.
Yeah.
And they're completely awesome.
And a leopard print dress. Yeah, so I'm definitely not going with a suit and tie look ever. It's too warm today.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really way too warm for that.
Yeah, we're recording this. It's like 25 degrees today.
Yeah, it's too hot to be wearing a suit and tie. Also, we're not client facing, so no one cares if I've got studded shoes on.
No.
Really.
Okay, so how do you find that works, the not client facing thing?
So I think that we have to really consciously make sure that our brand voice is very consistent, and I think that we have to make sure we work really hard on customer service, because you don't get to do the meet and greet. It's easier to discard the relationship. So for our clients, it's what we always want to do. We always wanted to commoditize accountancy so that people can swap around like you do energy providers. You go to the one with the best service, the best price, the one that suits you best. That's kind of what we've always wanted for the industry, to make it competition's a good thing. It means that things develop. Yeah. But it does mean that because you're not doing that face-to-face stuff, you're more easily discarded because there's no emotional attachment to you. So we have to make sure we really compensate for that by making sure that our customer service is really good, making sure that our communication style is perfect, and just making sure we do that extra bit more that compensates the fact we're not seeing someone once a year.
Yeah, you see, that's really interesting, because the reason that I'm in touch with you is because James was like, I know somebody who's got a Flamingo business, because that's what I do. It's like standing out from the crowd. And I'm always about, if you're a commodity, you're in trouble. But you've kind of switched that on its head, and it's like you wanted to turn it into a commodity, but something with a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's hard. Yeah, it's that kind of, because the industry wasn't commoditized, and people would stay with their accountant for years, and they complain about them. And when people don't vote with their feet, then you don't get change. So I think that in an industry where we allow people to vote with it, and we have clients who leave us and then they come back and they leave us and they come back, and it's they're swapping. They're doing what we all do with all our services and products. They swap between different providers, things that might suit them for now, things that might suit them for later. They take a break from their business. They go, and because of the way we're structured, we're very flexible. So we do see our client attrition rates kind of fluctuating. We do lose clients, but then we also have the same clients come back. So it means that I think that what we're doing is exactly what we want to do, which is to remain attractive and flexible to the type of person we sell our service to. And we're very kind of clear about who our market is and who we're going to go after. We're never going to go after the kind of the multi-million pound businesses with 100 staff, because that is not what we do, and that's not our client base, and we wouldn't service them correctly. But our very specific client base, and we do a really good job of that, and that's what we focus on entirely. And all our marketing is aimed towards them and funneling them in and attracting them, and only them.
Okay, so tell me a bit about who your market is then.
So our market is basically micro businesses. Okay. So historically,
like me, I guess.
Yeah, like you. So you've got the sole traders, one-man bands, lifestyle businesses, small limited companies, people with fewer than 5 staff. Most of them turn over less than £250,000. Only about half our client base is VAT registered. So we are dealing with the kind of the smaller end of the market. We've got everything from graphic designers to builders to CIS subcontractors to website designers, you name it, we've got it. Mobile hairdressers, nail technicians, all that kind of stuff. We've got all of that at varying degrees, varying levels of business. But what they all do have in common is they all value their time more, enough that they don't want to go and have a meeting in an accountant's office for an hour, and they all value convenience. So they want to just give it all to us, and we deal with everything else. They want to trust someone else to do it. They're not interested in kind of putting all those figures into a spreadsheet themselves or a bit of software. That's just not their bag. Yeah. So that's what they all have in common.
Okay, cool. And how do you market them? How do you find them?
Predominantly, it's online. So we've got quite a big social media presence. We're very active in the kind of search engines. We've recently started doing videos, stuff like that. So it's very much online. So our biggest ones are online and recommendation from other clients, word of mouth, are the kind of the 3 biggies. But definitely online is the number one in terms of the new client take-up.
Okay, cool. And so what's the most fun piece of marketing you've done, and how did it work for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I love a fun piece of marketing, so I like being quite creative with it. And we did years and years ago, they're not so applicable to our business model anymore, but we did do a couple of trade shows, and I did a seed packet of grow your own accountant seeds, and it kind of had in there a picture like an old accountant on it, and it had like actual little plant seeds in there, and it would be like, you can add 100 mils of boredom and 50 mils of dusty tax receipts and all that kind of stuff. And it was basically just it was making fun of the very traditional stereotype of an accountant, but that was kind of fun. I quite enjoyed that.
I know, I love that idea. I'm all about something a bit daft, and I also like the idea of kind of poking fun at something that perhaps needs to change.
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in it. It's always very good natured, and I know that people definitely, well, certainly myself as well, when you put yourself out there, people are happy to poke fun of you. I think I had one accountant on on a website. What did he call me? A self-promoting social media junkie or something like that, which I'm going to use that in my bio because I quite like it.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of taking insults and turning them into little taglines.
Absolutely. Yeah. I need to dig it out and find it actually because it's very funny. He did make me chuckle when I saw it.
Oh, bless him. And you always know when people do that as well. Like they're thinking, oh, I kind of wish I could do that.
Yeah. And I'm all for, like I said, I've got pretty broad shoulders. I'm all for taking a bit of criticism and having fun poked at me. I've got no problem with that. But like you said, I think it's fun to poke fun at an industry that needs a bit of a change, and it's also a great marketing tool. You know, if you can make fun of there's lots of brands that do it out there really successfully. I think historically Virgin have done it really well.
Yes.
What's Old Spice did it very well.
Yes.
They did a very good kind of poking fun at something campaign. Oh, the old Apple Mac, the old YouTube videos, they did the poking fun at something. So I think as a basis for comparison and a stereotype that everyone recognises, I think it's cool to do it. It's fine.
And it seems to bring in the right kind of customers for you.
It does, yeah. Our customers, they've pretty much all got a good sense of humour. They're all nice people. They're all just nice people. Like, we enjoy chatting to them on the phone. They're nice.
Oh, that's good. It's good to get on with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, they pay our bills. So
cool. Okay, so you've told me a little bit about what makes you different, but I guess there are other people that do something similar to what you do now, this kind of, online accountancy. So what makes why would I choose you and not one of the others?
I think we're one of the only ones that does all the bookkeeping as well. So you do have the model where a lot of the online businesses, they've got bits of software or upload portals and that, but they're going to ask you to do quite a lot of your own bookkeeping, which if you're into your numbers and you like filling out that kind of thing, awesome. But not many people do, and it's still a bit of a drag. So even though you've got the convenience of that kind of distance relationship and that kind of social media style interaction, you're still having to put in quite a lot of work yourself at the front end. And also, if you haven't got a qualified bookkeeper doing it, you don't know that the figures you're putting in are the right things. You don't know what's deductible. The way that we do it means that we process everything. You literally just give us your paperwork and then we'll do everything else. We'll work out what is and isn't deductible for you. All that kind of stuff. We'll advise as we go along. And that means that you literally, it is the kind of online equivalent of stick it in a shoebox and worry about it later. That is very much us. So that's kind of where our USP is.
Okay, so what does your online shoebox look like then? Is that where your app comes in?
Yeah, basically. So we've got an app. So you can literally have a physical envelope or shoebox. So if you're still kind of in the paper realm, which about kind of 40 to 50% of our clients are, they still work in the physical world. You can literally put things into your free post purple envelope, send it off to us, and then we'll deal with everything else. We copied the model exactly for the app. So you've got an online purple envelope and you just upload it from your phone, or you can forward emails into it, however you want that information to go in. It'll go into your envelope, and then once a month we collect everything from that envelope and turn it into your accounting for you, and then leave the envelope open in your app for you to keep filling it up.
Okay, that sounds kind of like what I do with Evernote. I just shovel everything into Evernote and forward emails into Evernote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just shove it all in there and deal with it. So it's kind of like a kind of Dropboxy type thing, and let someone else deal with it later. It's that kind of vibe.
That sounds cool. So I like the way you described how you do it on your website, because it's just a really simple kind of step-by-step thing. Can you walk us through how that works?
Yeah, so you're now testing me on my own website. Yeah, so it's kind of the 3 steps. So you give us everything. You mean the diagram on the front, yeah? Yeah, so you give us everything either electronically or physically. We do the rest. You get on with running your business.
Okay,
basically that's it in a nutshell.
So do you send physical envelopes out to people every now and then and have a little stack?
Yeah, they do. So if you sign up for the paper service, you'll get a welcome pack, which has got all your kind of information and guides and stuff in it. And if you sign up for the electronic service, you get an electronic welcome pack, which has it all in the electronic version.
So you can choose which one you want to be.
You can choose which path, yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Okay, so what's the biggest business lesson you've learned over the years?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'd say probably that it's trusting your gut, specifically around people. That's probably quite a common one, but I think sometimes you get a vibe for people, and occasionally I've kind of allowed someone else to try and change my opinion of someone, or I've gone, I don't think I want to work with them, I don't like them, and someone's gone, oh no, they're fine, I get on really well with them. I've gone, oh, all right then, and it's never worked out. So I think that you've got something in you that reads situations and people that aren't going to be suitable for you. And I think if you know yourself really well, and you're pretty self-aware, then yeah, just definitely trust your gut. If you get a bad vibe about someone, just don't do business with them.
That's a really good piece of advice, because every time I've not listened to my gut, I've regretted it later.
Yeah, you always do. You think, why did I let someone like sway me? Yeah, it's really frustrating.
It's very frustrating, especially because you look at yourself like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, I should just like stick by my guns. Yeah, so I've learned that. It's taken a long time to get there, but definitely now if I get a bad vibe off someone, I'm like, nope, not dealing with it. Even if someone asks me why, I'm like, I can't tell you exactly why. I just know it's not going to work, and stick with it.
Cool, thank you for that. And what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in business, and how did you fix it?
That's a really, really good question. I'd say it's that thing of something that's a mistake at the time, then looking back at it isn't a mistake, but definitely at the time it felt like a huge mistake. And it was when we moved up to our hub, which is where you are now. We did that. We allowed ourselves to get, again, bad vibe about somebody, didn't listen to my gut, get sucked into the idea that we needed kind of on the ground salespeople, and this person was going to come on as a kind of B shareholder and help us grow the business, and was super into it. And they were like super attentive when we started kind of looking at expansion. And then when it came to the money side of it, just kind of disappeared. So we'd taken on a load of financial commitment. We'd taken on this 6,000 square foot office and a load of staff. And I remember sitting on the floor in the meeting room one day with Sophie and going, what have we done? We've taken all these staff, we've got all these overheads, and we don't have any clients to actually service here. Like, how did we forget that was a key part? Because that was the part this other person was going to do. And yeah, that was pretty scary. That was quite a scary moment. But you've got two choices then, haven't you? You can either get on with it or you don't. Yeah. So we just got on with it. We just like, right, come on then, off we go. And we just worked really, really hard. And we found the clients and we grew. And then we learned a really valuable lesson. So looking back, at the time it felt like a huge mistake, but actually I learnt loads. So
maybe it was the best thing that happened.
Maybe it's the best thing that ever happened. Yeah. I think you've always got to turn those things around, haven't you?
Yeah, because you have to learn how to kind of pick up and deal with it. It's not a very good testimony to my grubby little industry, sales and marketing. There's a lot of ass hats out there.
Well, yeah, I just think that I'm glad you said ass hats. I wasn't like sure if I was allowed to swear or not.
Whatever you like.
Awesome, even better. No, but I think that it was around that time as well when things like Dragon's Den were super popular, and we kind of had quite a lot of press attention, and maybe got a bit like big for our boots, or thought more of ourselves, believed our own hype a little bit, and so this guy came in and was like, yeah, we could do this and this, and we just kind of got swept away with it. He seemed credible. He was known around the kind of the local circuit, and turned out he just wasn't. Which we learnt with some pretty big bills to pay. Yeah. He then tried to sue us.
I'm really tempted to ask what his name is, because that sounds very much like somebody I came across one day.
Okay.
We'll talk about this.
We'll talk about this off air afterwards, yeah. No, he then tried to sue us and tried to send us a bill for his time. And I was like, dude, no, like absolutely not. Wow. So yeah, that was quite funny.
I think you have to get burnt really badly once, don't you, to kind of, I don't know, move on.
Yeah, it's like falling in love, isn't it? You've got to have your heart broken, otherwise how do you know? Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and you can't tell anybody anything. It's like they'll all go and do their own thing, and then they kind of fall over, and it's like, oh, you just got to pick yourself up.
Yeah, and no matter how much advice we'd have had, I don't think that I would have changed it. I think I would have still gone ahead, even if someone told me not to. Yeah. So I had to fall. We had to fall. That's how it works.
So how did you pick yourself up? What did you do?
I did a bit of crying, shaking and anxiety for a little while, and then I realised that the only person who could fix this was me. That's it. There's no one going to do it for me. No one was going to swoop in. And at that point, you just have to get on with it. Yeah. So it's just, right, we're going to go back on the networking circuit. We're going to go back and doing this. We're going proper grassroots. We're going to service the clients we do have really well. Make sure that they don't leave so we can keep the numbers up. And we just kind of, bit by bit, day by day, it got better.
Awesome. Well done. I love it. I love a good falling over to not falling over story.
Yeah, absolutely. Pick yourself up story, yeah.
Yeah. I also love what you said about taking responsibility as well, because so many people don't. Yeah. It's like even if it's not your fault, it's still your responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes circumstances and life and whatever else like deals you a load of stuff and you just have to deal with it. And yeah, it's not fair sometimes. It's absolutely not fair, but life's not fair. And you just got to get on with it. You can't, some people have lucky breaks and some people don't. And yeah, that's all, you can't change that sometimes.
No, you just got to get on with it, like you said. Okay, cool. So where do you want your business to go in the future? What's your goal?
So the goal, we've been doing some good planning around this lately, actually. The goal very much is to continue growing. So we want to, in terms of the size of the business, keep growing that. So take over more of the market. In terms of the business delivery, we've got things we want to do, like customer service initiatives and stuff like that we really want to improve. We're always developing things like the app and what we can do. So just basically try and kind of stay ahead of the curve and predict where the industry is going. The accountancy industry, to be really boring, has got a load of changes coming up in the next couple of years, which we're really well positioned for. So we feel quite confident and quite happy that we're going to be able to meet that kind of demand. And it's a demand where I think some of the kind of old school accountants in the industry, the kind of one-man band accountants, are probably like heading towards retirement. They're not going to want to bother with it. So that gives us opportunities then in the future to kind of like look at kind of converting their client base over to kind of the sort of thing that we do. So that's kind of where we're going with it, really. Continue growing the one in the States as well, because the market over there is huge. And even though in the States, in some places, they're really ahead of us, certainly with technology and stuff like that, in terms of the financial and accounting industries, they're kind of not. So that offers us some kind of interesting opportunities as well. So keep growing that and looking at what we can do there. Their tax system's a little bit different, so that provides other opportunities for us. So keep growing and keep doing what we do. That's kind of the goal.
Cool. And what are you doing kind of outside? I only ask this because I love seeing female-run businesses, being, you know, a female-run business myself. So it's just, do you do anything kind of outside? What do you think of the whole, you know, female entrepreneur movement?
It's awesome. Obviously. I do. I'm involved in the Forward Ladies Network, which is, I was a finalist in one of their awards last year. I'm always a huge advocate for women in business, kind of taking opportunities and empowerment and stuff like that, breaking down stereotypes, all that kind of stuff. I think I do quite a lot of writing for Accounting Web, and a lot of what I write about has been about women within the industry, because it is still traditionally a very male-led industry. I think we're one of like a teeny tiny proportion of firms in the UK where our entire management team's female. So we've got, and it wasn't by design, it's just how it went. But that's really unusual, and I think it gives us a slightly different dynamic. I think it kind of gives the way we work a bit more of a just a different feel of that kind of very corporate-y, laddie culture which can exist within finance sometimes. So I love kind of advocating for that kind of thing. If you see me tweeting and Instagramming, you'll see a lot of that.
Cool. I'm going to find you. I don't really do social media that much, and I feel like I should. So do you find that more of your clients are female then?
No, it's about 50-50 actually. It's we do track that kind of thing, and it's pretty much evenly split.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. But they are typically kind of under 45. So we are looking at the kind of people who are more involved in tech and more comfortable kind of working off their phones and that kind of thing. That tends to be more our kind of age range.
Okay. And what do you see as kind of the biggest obstacle that women have to overcome in business?
Oh, it's a really interesting one. So I'd say one of the obstacles that we have to overcome is that there's still very much, I think a lot of time, it's not what you know, it's who you know mentality. And if businesses are run entirely by men and men hang out with the men, then the who you know is a man. And so they get offered the opportunities. So I think that's a big thing to overcome. And I think we can overcome it by just being really present and by putting yourself forward and being there and standing up and speaking and kind of doing all the things which, you know, good little girls are told not to do, but you know, that kind of thing is just to go, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stand, I'm going to say my piece. And if you don't like it, well then tough. And just to be vocal and heard, I think that's a huge thing we do. I think another thing we can do is we can advocate for other women. I think that for too long, there's been this kind of conception that women are naturally in competition with each other, which I hate. I absolutely hate it. I love seeing other successful women. I absolutely love it. It gives me such a buzz. So I think that we can support, praise, promote other women that we find inspiring and successul, and kind of, don't want to bang on about the sisterhood, but, you know, really show that, you know, we can build the community and help that other thing, and help them get their feet through the door.
Cool. I love that, because we have enough to contend with without like backbiting with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not in competition with each other at all. We should be supporting each other, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so just a takeaway, really. I was trying to finish the podcast with a bit of a takeaway. If you could leave the listeners with one single message about kind of running or growing a business, what would it be?
I'd say, that's a really good question. Probably one of the most important things you can do is learn about yourself. So become self-aware. So know what your stresses are, know what's going to make you stressed out, know what's going to relax you, know what situations you find intimidating, which ones you're super comfortable in, know where you shine, know your areas for improvement. If you become really, really self-aware and know about yourself, any situation that you're thrown into, you'll know how you're going to react to it. And I think that gives you a huge amount of power, because it means you're not going to get daunted by anything. Or if you are daunted, you're going to know in advance how to cope with it. And running a business, it's all about doing something you haven't done before every single day. I don't think there's there's hardly a day that goes by when I don't come across something that I've not come across before, whether that's an article or doing a podcast or whatever it might be. You always come across something new. So as long as you're prepared for that and just know that you're not going to have all the answers. So people are going to ask you questions all the time and you'll just be like, oh, I'm going to have to go and find out and come back to you. Yeah. And that's absolutely fine. Yeah. As long as you actually do get back to someone. You don't have to know everything straight away because no one can. Yeah. And just feel comfortable knowing that, I think, and trust your gut.
Cool. Thank you so much. Before we go, I just want to ask you where can people find out more about you?
Me personally or the business?
Well, both, really.
Both. So online, the business is mazumamoney.co.uk. And on Twitter, it's at MazumaGB and Instagram's at Mazuma Accountants. And then I'm on everything as my handle is at Lucy Mazuma.
Cool. Okay, well, I'll put those links in the show notes as well so that people can grab those.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed interviewing you.
No, it's been really fun. Thank you so much.
No worries. Do more of them.
Thanks. I will.
Cool. Okay, so Joe will be back next week. Everyone's a big fan of Joe. Nobody wants to hear from me. So it's terribly upsetting.
I'm sure that's not true.
No, Joe's awesome. So next week, Joe will be back and we'll be talking about making awkward eye contact. I'll explain that in a moment.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can pre-register for my brand new book, which is coming out in June. It is fucking coming out in June. You can go to vickyfraser.com/flamingo. Give me your name and email and I will let you know as soon as it's ready. And also, if you're looking for an accountant or you want a change or you want to do things differently, go and find mazumamoney.co.uk. Cool. Thank you so much. And we will be back same time next week.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.